Publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
Good morning, friends. We're live with The Drive here at 1000 Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton. We've been on the road quite a bit, filming on location, so we're back in studio today, and I'm so glad to be here. There's so many improvements going on at Hersam Acorn Hand Radio. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and I do enjoy being on location, but I have to say, today we're going to have a really great conversation with a good friend of mine, and it's better, I think, without the water blowing on us and and my papers blowing around, if we're going to talk about confidence today with my friend Beverly Belez. So welcome, Beverly. Welcome to the show.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
Beverly and I do some work together on the board of the chamber. Actually, I'm on the board and Beverly's the president. But before we get into that part of Beverly's life, Beverly and I share some very common feelings and pathways when it comes to success. And so the drive, for those of you tuning in for the first or hopefully second or multiple times, is motivational, intelligent talk with a little humor. And what we try to leave you with is something that inspires you to move your life forward, maybe a revelation that says, wow, I can do it too, or something that I've been putting off. This show gives you a little motivation to move it forward. So welcome again.
Thank you so much.
I know that we had a conversation before you were coming on, and we talked about how we, more specifically you, broke out of what we would call an expected norm.
Yes.
Tell me about
correct.
some expected norms in your life earlier on.
So earlier on, I was actually born and raised in Danbury, Connecticut, and I was the youngest of my siblings. And at that time, which was a long time ago, women were supposed to go to high school, become a secretary, and get married.
Well, that was a real old norm. Most of the folks,
I'm not a spring chicken anymore.
most of the folks here in the background of Han, and who are like, "What? We don't." That's like, okay, but it still happens. It still happens.
It still happens. So both my sisters got married at 19 and 20, and they did have jobs as secretaries. And coming through the decade of the 60s, I think one of the important things that came out of that era was the options that were started to be given to women and the freedoms of choice. And so I was coming out of the 60s and started to listen to that and thought, well, my goodness, let me do something different. And
was that meant with great happiness back home?
That was meant with, well, are you sure? But if you'd like to do that, we're behind you.
Okay.
So interestingly, when I was in high school, because I was supposed to be a secretary, I didn't have all the necessary courses to get into college. So one of my first breakthroughs was after graduation was to come back to high school and become a postgraduate and take those classes, which were geometry and algebra and chemistry and different English classes. So that would qualify me to get into college.
Oh. So you were kind of breaking out of the norm, but it seems like you had a little bit of support. Is that right?
Yes, definitely had a little bit of support. And while I was in high school and I was making new friends, I realized the importance of college. Mm-hmm. And when I came home and discussed that with my parents, although my two sisters didn't go to college, they were understanding of that. My dad actually was a pharmacist, so in his day he did go to college for a couple years, and I think he understood that it was time for one of his daughters maybe to do something a little bit different.
A little bit of trailblazing.
Yeah, a little bit of trailblazing.
Okay, so you go to college, and where did you go? I should ask that
went
first.
to, there we go. Went to Western Connecticut State University in Danbury.
So you're a local lady.
Yes, I am.
Which kind of plays into the Hersam family of papers. We have 15 papers countywide, and a few in Westchester as well. So I guess we selected a guest that really represents where we're from.
Yes.
Okay. So you go to college, you finish, and then tell me what happens.
So I finished, and my degree was in elementary education. And at that time, the teacher market, so to speak, was pretty saturated. So it was hard to get out and get a job in teaching. And I was hired at Grolier to become a secretary. I was hired as a secretary in the creative department. And this was my first exposure to real corporate life in business. And while I was in that department, the creative department, I found some of my talents. And some of those talents are copy and copywriting.
Design. I didn't know that about you.
So I would write for, I would create all the copy for all the promotions, all of the flyers, all of the mailings, also design. So I did a lot of design. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And after being there for a couple of years, I was offered a teaching job in Brookfield, and as an elementary teacher, and I did that for about 2 years, and I thought...
How was that?
Well, that was quite different from working in the corporate world, I have to say. And although my background was in education, I thought, well, I love this. I love teaching. I love students, but let me get back into business, but keep the educational component. So I went back to Grolier, and I was in their educational division, and I loved that very much.
So not everybody remembers Grolier. What is Grolier? They're no longer. They've been bought out by now.
Scholastic,
right.
yes. So Grolier was a wonderful company that was first in New York City and moved up into Danbury in the late 70s. They were actually a big direct mail marketing company. They had the rights for Disney, Dr. Seuss. They did book clubs.
I remember
parents,
book clubs.
Parents at home, a lot of direct mail. And on top of that, the educational component was encyclopedias, which also went to the home market in addition to the school market, and reference materials.
Now we're going to throw back real hard here. Does everyone remember the guy that used to come to the door with the encyclopedias? the background staff of Hannah is shaking their head. No way. Get these dinosaurs moving.
Exactly.
But the truth of the matter be, technology has fast forwarded us to places that no one can believe we came from.
Well, absolutely. And as I reflect, I can't believe that I do actually have that dinosaur in my background, where I actually used to go to the presses and watch books come off and design pages on mechanicals, and everything's done in computer and technology now.
Well, it is a multi-generational workforce. That's what moves everybody forward, because the wisdom of those of us that have been around for a while combined with the chutzpah of the multi-generationals keeps it all moving forward.
It does.
Okay,
for sure.
so you're back at Grolier. I want to focus on your confidence and what you did and when you had it and when you didn't have it. Tell us, because so many people that listen to us often walk away saying, you know what, that really motivated me, that inspired me. Where do you get your confidence from? Now, I know where I get my confidence from, but I'm not going to talk yet.
Okay.
Where do you get?
We'll share that in a little bit.
Where do you get your confidence from?
Well, again, coming out of a little home, I was raised there. When I went back as a post-grad, I thought, oh my gosh, this is different, I can do this. But when I was working at Grolier is when I started to develop more confidence. And that simply was the result of people coming back to me and saying, Beverly, that's great. Beverly, you did a good job. Beverly, we're going to promote you. We're going to give you this. Can you try that? And I actually worked at Grolier for over 20 years.
Wow.
And
That's also unheard of nowadays.
It's unheard of nowadays, and without any real mentoring, the presidents that I worked for and my bosses that I had, they saw something in me and would give me more projects and more projects and more projects. And during the course of my career at Grolier, I think I was promoted about 17 times.
Wow.
And each time...
You look pretty young for that, Bev.
And that was a long time ago, too. That really helped me with my confidence. And to a point where instead of saying, oh, my God, I can't do that, I said, yes, let me give it a try and let me see if I can make this happen.
So when we actually have some high school interns and college interns assisting us in our business, and of course we have a young daughter we're raising, and we always say, try it. Try it. If you make a mistake, so be it.
Exactly.
But try it and give it your personal best. So I'd say that's one of the steps to confidence. You'll never know if you don't try it.
Exactly right.
I forget the person who quoted it. I don't know if it was Albert Einstein, Mr. Ford, who said, you know what, you lose all of the shots you don't take.
Exactly. And that's true.
That's tip number one, friends. You got to try it. You've just got to try it.
You have to try it because it's testing the waters, and those situations help create a foundation for you going forward. When you realize your talents, it also helps you identify your talent base.
Well, yes, and it helps you investigate your skills.
Yes.
So we always say match the right person with the right job. Not everybody can do, the job that you do or the job that I do, nor should they, because then we'd all be, sort of moobs of each other. The movie Home with the moobs, and everybody's the same.
Yes,
okay,
right,
so.
Exactly. Exactly.
It'd be a little scary if we were the moobs. Maybe not. But we always try to, in our different businesses, find the right people. And I'm sure you do this at the chamber too, and we're gonna skedaddle in that direction later on in the show. But and Troy's actually the master at this. Is like put the best person on the job, because then the job will be done correctly, and it also will support their skill set, therefore enhancing their self-esteem.
Exactly right. That is so true. And before we came on air, I was sharing a story with everybody about I was at a huge sales conference. I was,
Recently?
This was when I was at Grolier, and I was in the marketing department, and I had to make a presentation in front of 300 people at this conference, and I was so nervous about it. And in the morning, I got up and called my president, and I said, I just cannot do this. I cannot get out on this stage. Can we have someone else do this? And he said, absolutely not. And he hung up the phone on me. So I had to go out on stage and give my hour-long presentation, and I did it. There was an applause after, and it was another experience for me to help me build confidence.
It's kind of like when they toss babies in the water for the first time and they know how to swim, or you come right, because the fear isn't put there yet.
Exactly.
The fear isn't put there yet. So I would say, to your point, when someone mentors you or supports you, and I said this last week, I think I say it on every show, my mother and grandmother would say, you can only be a success by helping others be a success. And so with the support you got, it sounds like it moved you forward.
It totally moved me forward. And to your point with what you just said, as I moved on in my career and went to other publishing companies, my management style is people work with me, not for me. And that it's always an open door, and helping employees put their signature on a project, because then you do have ownership, and that helps motivate them as well.
So let's take a side road there in the spirit of the Daily Drive. Now, you're allowing people to have an open door policy, and you're allowing them to try to put their own signature on a project. What about those that kind of linger, take advantage, don't do it? And what do you do with people that don't have the positive energy to utilize whatever you're allowing them to do to advance themselves? I don't want to call them the negative negs, but
right.
I'm going to call them the negative negs.
Exactly.
What are we doing with those guys?
And they are out there.
Yes, they are.
And they are out there. And what I try to do is to identify where their interest really is. And and a lot of the negativity can also be fear-based, and they can they're maybe afraid to do something.
Or try it.
Right, exactly. So they may come off negative, they may not engage, they may not become part of the team. So what I like to do is to have a conversation, a casual conversation, get a little bit more on their life, their background, what is their interest, and then try and build that into part of a project so they can be a piece of that.
So I find that in my line of work, we, because we're in creative, so I'm going to give a shout out. There's not as much room for negativity because the two kind of don't go hand in hand, but it exists. And I do the same thing. I try to find the best in the person first and see where we can fit. And if it's just that they're so completely down on life, we might, help them reveal to themselves that a better opportunity or better fit is somewhere else. But we do the very same thing. We try to see where their skills are, where they shine, where they feel most comfortable. And I feel like most of the time it works. Some of the time, though, and I don't know if you feel this way, you just have to let them go. And for me, and we talked about this in the newsletter we sent out regarding you coming on, I have a lot of guilt with that. I feel like I want to keep trying, I want to find the best. I refuse to let them go.
Yes, exactly. No, I am the same.
I've got to find a way to make it right.
Exactly.
But I also want everyone to know, whatever type of confidence you're seeking, what's important is to give it your absolute 100 best and then know when to let it go.
Yes.
Okay,
exactly.
So tell people how you know when it's the right time to let it go.
For me personally or for employees?
I say you personally.
Okay. I think that when you reach a level where you're not happy in what you're doing, because that has many ramifications, of course, but I think when you start to not feel good about your outcomes or what you're doing, you may reflect and say, there may not be a right fit here. There may not be, this opportunity may not be really grabbing onto my talents to make that successful. And I think you do have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be honest with other people as well. If there is someone in my department or my company that doesn't fit, what I would try to do is to counsel and find a pathway, help them find a pathway, help them look for other areas that they may be a better fit in. But I think it really would come to me as if I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
So when I'm not happy with something, I also sometimes get like a physical manifestation, a headache, my stomach. It's like the sort of all those things we call the gut intuition.
Yes.
And then I kind of observe what's going on in my life. And I see sort of serendipitous things that are happening, or maybe we'll call them chance coincidences. And I'll look and I'll say, you know what? Something is telling me that I need to move, change, be aware of this. Do you have those experiences?
I do. And I think intuition is incredibly powerful. And if you feel that, and my body does the same thing, for a while my friends would say, do you still need Digel? Because my stomach would be upset when I was building my confidence level. Yes, and I think that all of that comes together to tell you those things and be aware of them.
So I think for people that are listening now, some people are maybe stay-at-home moms and wanting to get back into the workplace. People are caring for aging in-laws or family members, or maybe dealing with crises in life, and your confidence gets rocked. Well, you're tired. You don't know the pathway. So we're saying respond and listen to your gut.
Yes, very much so.
Know when to let something go. And if you don't know when to let something go, we're going to talk about that right after the break. So here's how it goes, folks. You can give us a call at 203-442-9055. Join in the conversation of confidence. We're going to talk about how we move it forward and some tips to do that. A little bit more about Beverly's background. Towards the tail end of the show, we're going to tell you how she's moving and shaking the Fairfield Chamber. We'll be right back with The Drive, live Fridays, 10 o'clock here on Hersam.
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate roadshows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
So we're back with The Drive, live here at Hersam, 1000 Bridgeport Ave in Shelton. It's our new studio. We also have a studio in Ridgefield, and The Drive is on every day. I wish it was on every day. We're on Fridays at 10, and then you can find us again at hanradio.com, and it's also live streamed on YouTube. So we're on demand, people, and we love it. Beverly Belez is not only a friend of mine, the president of the Fairfield Chamber, but she's got an incredible background in corporate marketing. And the conversation today with Beverly is confidence to and through it. Beverly, I grew up in the Berkshires, and I also was the first woman in my family to be college educated. And I think back in the day, people thought maybe, it wasn't necessary for ladies, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you say that to some people, and you could really get the public screaming. But that's just the reality.
It was the reality.
It wasn't necessary. Mm-hmm. And so I was a small-town girl of 1,800 people, and I went off to Manhattan. And really, I think my parents thought that
that's a big step.
They were not liking that very much. Maybe the community college was suitable, but anyways, I won't get into why and how that happened, but I did go away to college in Manhattan, and it was a huge step. Yeah. And at times, I left my younger brother and sister at home, who I was very close to, and I did feel a little bit of guilt. I don't know if you felt guilt, but I felt my brother was 9 or 10 years my junior, and my sister 5 years my junior, and I felt like, I was leaving the pack. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, once you go to college in Manhattan,
there's no returning.
And let me just really, and you hit Studio 54,
right.
You kind of forget about that.
Exactly.
But deep down inside, when I would come home, I would still often feel out of place because I had gone against the norm. Mm-hmm. Now, that norm for us today is when I talk to Ava, why can't she be on Instagram? By her not being on Instagram, I'm wrecking her popularity.
Right. Those are the days today.
Right, that's the new norm. It's like, you're not up to speed, Mom. This is how people communicate. And if you ask them to use the regular telephone, yes. Friends, oh, no.
No.
And that is just self-esteem bombing. Right?
It is.
So we understand, Beverly and I, for those that are watching and listening, the two norms, we get it. What we're talking about, our norm. Yes. We'll talk about someone else's norm another time. We do that a lot in the Daily Drive seminars. It's like what my all is very different than what your all is. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a common thread that we get on the hamster wheel of life.
Yes.
And we start doing whatever we're supposed to do.
Exactly.
We table our gifts because, we've got these responsibilities, or we've taken on the shoulds of someone else. Mm-hmm. You should do this, you should do that. And all of a sudden, all these years later, we're like,
exactly.
Off-road, not doing what I want to do, not being who I want to be. And there's some high-profile cases that are out there in the news right now of people becoming who they want to be. And we'll leave that on the table as well. Mm-hmm. So when you're seeking confidence and you're moving through the changes in your life to where you are today, tell me how you got, because you left a pretty big corporate marketing job to go, I want to say, into nonprofit?
There were a couple of, I did go into Manhattan for about 10 years, and I worked there after Grolier, and then moved back to this local area, and then went into
Nonprofit, which is a whole nother world.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you got to wear a whole nother hat. Now, along the way, are you having any trials or tribulations that are rocking your confidence? Because as many great things are happening to you,
Absolutely.
you make your plans and life happens.
Absolutely. And I think, yes, without question.
Do you want to share any of those with us?
Well, I think that when you are faced with difficulties either in your career or in your personal life, and the challenges seem absolutely daunting and overwhelming, that there's days when maybe you just can't get up and get going on your day.
Well, yeah, and people that are listening many of them feel that way.
Yes, and I've been there.
Okay.
I get it. I understand it. The sofa's a very nice place to have a cup of tea for the entire day. So I know that world.
Don't give us any suggestions, Beverly.
But anyway, I think that, and one of the tips that I would say is really understanding. It's easier to say it, but really understanding, and this is part of the drive, is that our road in life isn't a straight road. That there are many curves, there are many mountains to go up and down, and if you really, really understand that and get that, still kind of hard to do, then you're not as defeated when something difficult comes along or a challenge.
They say your spine is your lifeline from a health point of view, right?
Yes.
And the greatest thing you have is your health, because you can do anything as long as you have your health. But when you're down on the couch with your cup of tea and you're hanging out there because you've been fired or your spouse left you or something happened, God forbid, to one of your children or loved ones, you're down on that couch.
Yes.
And you see no dark, your confidence is shaken.
It is.
So what I recommend to people is, number one, you got to stop criticizing yourself. The inner critic can just wreak havoc.
That's right.
Then what you have to do perhaps is, now we have the online component. Look around for some online educational courses, articles, the drive, places to motivate you, the radio show here, so that you feel connected. It's that disconnect.
That's critical, to be connected. You have to make sure that you get up and out, even if you don't want to.
It's that fake it till you make it.
Yes, you have to get up and out. And there were days when I was like, oh, God, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do this. After doing that, I would be like, you feel great. And you go, thank goodness I did that. It takes energy to do that.
And don't you think, too, more so than not, when you're doing that, you bump into someone, you're like, oh, my God, I never thought I would meet this person. And it was some transaction happened between the both of you, and you're like, thank goodness I went.
Absolutely.
So those, chance coincidences or serendip, it's about, putting the energy forward and being okay with whatever the result is and just kind of forcing yourself,
You have
right?
to force yourself to do that, for sure.
So we say there's one steering wheel in each car for a reason, because you're in charge of it. So now moving forward, what do you do to motivate others?
I
know you have a lot of friends, so let's start with the friends and the personal piece first before we get to what you do for the chamber.
Right, yes. I think that to motivate people, if they're not maybe in a good place or whatever, is to be a good helping hand, so to speak, and to remind them of successes in their life. And
great point.
Really, you have to look back.
Take inventory, people.
Yes,
take inventory.
Very, very important. And when I look at my resume today, it's 3 pages long. I'm like, oh my goodness, I did all of this with some ups and downs in between it. But that is a darn good reminder of, hey, where you come from, where you come from, you can do that. So if I'm motivating someone who I know and friends who may have a difficult situation, I really try to remind them of that. And I think one of the important things is to reach out to your friends.
Yes, reach out to your
friends. And that's the connection, because if you have honest friendships, they will help you as well.
So if balance is being I say balance is a constant state of motion, because if your work is offline, then maybe your personal life is suffering. If, your home environment's offline, then maybe your career is suffering. So balance is a constant state of motion. It's never all balanced.
And it's never perfect.
So what do you do? Do you have any sort of things you do to stay balanced? Do you exercise? Do you meditate? Do you daily drive?
I do, yes, all of those, and you've taught me many for sure. It's important to do that, and you have to try for balance, and it is difficult. But what I do is I am in a book club.
Oh, great.
I read, and I make sure that I get that book done within the 4 weeks. I look forward to being with my friends. I don't do anything that evening. I make sure that I'm with book club once a month and do that. I've gone back to the YMCA now. I'm starting to swim.
Our new one in town? In Westport?
No, in Fairfield.
Oh,
I
okay.
belong to the one in Fairfield. So I like to swim. And I will put together an exercise program come this summer, once I finish all of my events at the Chamber, that I can focus on that. But the health component is critical to feeling better and wellness all the way around.
So we say that it's a mind, body, spirit connection. How you fuel your mind, your body, spirit creates your lifestyle. It seems like you've got that going on. But it took you, I think it takes all of us trials, tribulations, working through it, being open. Yes. I think confidence also, you have to be open to it.
Yes,
we don't go to the shelf and buy it. It's like a learned muscle, right?
It absolutely is.
Because things rock your confidence. But like you said, if you look back and you reflect back, you say, wow, look at what I've done. I can do it again.
Exactly.
So when you're, again, you make your plans and life happens. But if in fact you can look at where you've come from, it makes where you're going a little bit easier, even in the, Okay, now what I know of you is I met you coming on board as the executive director and now president of our Fairfield Chamber.
Correct, yes.
And I think that this is my personal opinion. We've got a lot of online venues now. We've got Meetup, we've got Facebook, we've got blah, 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 blah. So the Chamber in general, nationally, it's been off-sited. People are like, why do I need to go there? Because I can find my friends, I can get my referrals off of Twitter.
Right.
And I know from a marketing point of view, that's something we've been working through to build community.
Yes.
And talk about changing an unexpected norm and being part of it. So what are you doing at the Chamber? Tell me a little bit how you got the job, first of all.
The job came open when the prior executive director was about to retire, and I was actually involved as a volunteer with the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I was actually the marketing chair. So I was very familiar with the Chamber and how the Chamber worked. And what I liked about the Chamber was the connection, again, to the business community. I love the business world, and I liked that connection. And I liked the Chamber being kind of the center of its membership to help businesses grow and sustain. So I always liked that about the Chamber. And when I was on the board and we were interviewing for a new person to come in, I put together a 1, a 3, and a 5-year strategic plan. And submitted that to the board. And then I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, I know where I think the Chamber should go. Maybe I should apply for the job. and the answer was, yes, we would love to have you on board.
So building the membership basically over again from the ground up, what have you done to encourage people to rejoin something that might have seemed, if you can pardon the expression, a smidge outdated?
Yes. Well, first it was really reaching out to the membership and talking to them and meeting them and introducing myself. In any business, you just can't sit in an office and have expectations of anything coming to you unless you're out in the world talking to your customers or your clients or whatever. So that personal touch is huge. I think everyone in life on every level likes that personal touch.
Well, I think, yes, social media is a fabulous thing, and it brings us together and stays connected. But there's nothing in all the businesses that I work with and the people that I consult with. The bottom line is real-time connection is so important. And that's why YouTube has usurped, oh my God, here I go again, whatever, exceeded because of the video component, right? People want that real-life connection. And on that note, I'm getting a little flag from our station manager that we're going to go to another break.
Okay.
And I think that Jocelyn is telling me we have a few Twitter questions.
Okay, great.
We come back, the drive to and through confidence with my friend Beverly Velez of the Fairfield Chamber. Thanks, guys. See you back in a minute.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the Knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersam.
You're listening to Hersam Acorn Radio.
We're back. We're back with The Drive. It's a 10 o'clock Friday show, available on Han Radio thereafter, and I think it's still on SoundCloud. Is that right, Josh? Oh, I put Josh.
Yes, Denise. It goes to SoundCloud. You could, if you want to listen to it or download it there. You can watch it on YouTube, as you've mentioned. Just search The Drive with Denise on YouTube, and all your shows will pop up. I tried that earlier
there you
today.
go.
That's pretty nice
and simple, right?
That's nice and easy.
Convenient.
It's very convenient. So we took a quick break there, and Jocelyn let me know that there is a couple of Twitter questions that came through. So it says, what is your most important, what do you do to volunteer, Beverly, since you're such a busy person? And do you think volunteering is an important component of confidence?
It's a huge. It's probably one of my number one things that I also do outside of work. And giving back to the community is just fantastic. It's huge. There are many, many people who have needs. That community might be underserved. So I worked with the food pantry for 7 years. We boxed up food in Black Rock. People would come in, we would give them food, they'd be able to select. And it's a humbling experience at best. So I've done that. I work with another group, and I've served dinner at other organizations. I have helped raise money for hospitals, and I do readathons in school for children. Volunteering is huge, absolutely huge in my life.
I think as well as mine. And I think what volunteering does for people is that it allows you to make others a success.
Yes.
You feel good in the share. You know the people receiving it feel good. You feel empowered. So for people that are maybe out of work or going through retirement and not knowing where they fit in, or maybe they're in, cancer recovery and they just want to do a little something, that can be like the spark of self-induced therapy, if you will,
Absolutely.
to move you to the next level.
Absolutely.
So I think the key components to confidence for me is trying it, being willing to try it. And I think we've both know in our professional lives, you got to take a lot of no's before you get a lot of yeses.
Absolutely.
And I think nowadays, people know that. It's sort of been said so much they know it, but they don't really live it. So when they get a no, they're thrown completely off course.
Yes.
Let's not get into the world of entitlement that happens around us nowadays.
Absolutely.
So everyone expects these yeses, but to really work from an authentic point of view and develop true confidence, you just got to know it's a little bit of a game of numbers, right?
It is. It absolutely is.
So give me some experiences like that you've had where you've gotten some no's and it kind of rocked your confidence.
Well, I think, clearly when you're in a job search situation and you feel good about, let's say, an interview.
Yes.
And that comes back as a no.
Oh,
That's
what
a
drag.
little bit of a setback because you feel that you connected, that you had the talent, you had the skill set.
And why not me?
And why not me? Right.
Yeah.
And that's another, but again, in this day and age, you have to realize that, I don't know, there's 300 or 500 people for every job opening out there. It's quite more competitive now. But that would shake me a little bit because many times throughout my career, if I interviewed, quite often I would get the job. But then there were times when I wouldn't, and then it's self-assessment again. But also understanding it just wasn't a right fit.
And in our world, sometimes, I might want a big client that I have my eyes set upon, or a big, recently, a big-time celebrity guest. And
Yes.
if the truth be told, the show is just on its way to getting there. And it's actually a client of ours. And I had to accept you have to be a little more further along, and the dynamics of that. And I understood that decision.
Yes,
Right. I understood that decision. But deep down inside, the first knee-jerk reaction was, is it me?
Right. Exactly.
What did I do wrong?
Right.
Oh,
That's
no.
right.
And it really wasn't me. So the other thing is, when you get a no, pull it apart objectively. Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Pull it apart objectively. And the other thing is, from an intuitive point of view, since we're talking about that and the drive, you know what? Some things are not meant to happen. And if you
Yes.
release the need to control and kind of let what's meant to be,
Yes.
you also sometimes get a better result. Isn't it true? Like, you got a couple of no's and you're like, I'm so glad now I got those no's.
Well, absolutely, and it's true.
Like, oh, God, thank God I didn't get that.
saying everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It is amazing how often that comes to fruition.
Right.
It is really true. It is really very true.
So that goes back to the conversation of take inventory. Because now if you've gotten all these no's and you take inventory of all the times you got no's and you were really disappointed and you were down on the couch with your tea, and then a few months later or years later you look back and you go, oh my God, I wasted time on the couch with my tea.
Yes.
It was so good I got that no.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a little bit of faith-based in action here, not a religious faith, just faith in yourself.
in yourself. That's
Faith
just exactly
in yourself.
right. And you have to maintain that as much as you can.
So the other question that came over was, how have the attitudes towards small business changed in Fairfield County based on all of your experience here living and working in the county over the past 5 to 10 years, it said?
Well, we're seeing in Fairfield that small businesses are still coming into town, that they are opening. Many of them are women-owned with the entrepreneurial spirit. And it is... Fairfield in particular is a great community, as are the other communities in Fairfield County. But, they're doing a lot more with social media to expand their customer base. They're doing different kind of marketing programs. But they are coming to the chamber and they are becoming a member of the chamber because of the connection. We say about the chamber that we are a gateway. And
a fabulous gateway, friends. I know I'm chairing marketing.
Yes, and
with
I was
Beverly.
just about to say that was your word as we reposition the chamber, and it is a new chamber. We are a gateway. It's just not one thing. But as we talked about before, it is introduction. It is meeting someone. It is shaking someone's hand. It is looking them in the eye and saying, this is what I do. Can we do this together? There's no longer a cold call within chamber. If you're a chamber member, then you call someone and you say, hi, I'm a member. Can we have a cup of coffee?
So it's like our own little social club, really.
Yes.
But we'll call it a business.
Professional colleagues,
Right.
yes, of colleagues.
What I've noticed in small business, because I do a lot of entrepreneurial consulting for marketing and strategic planning to small businesses and CEOs in our county, is that many of the organizations are very concerned about their corporate culture, how they're treating their resources. So confidence from the CEO level down is important. They want their people to not only be very productive at work, but to have sort of a good outside the office work. So they are striking a balance with bringing in programs to help people feel more confident. Because if you're more
Absolutely.
confident at work, stemming from confidence at home, better relationships, better social well-being, better health, better financial well-being, you're much better in the workplace. That's one of the things I observed from my work. And the other thing I observe is there are a lot of small businesses doing consultative practices. So you don't necessarily need an office space per se anymore. Many people are working remote.
Yes.
They're using digital
Yes.
technology. They're doing their consulting services from Fairfield, but they're consulting all over the world.
Right,
frankly.
exactly. The brick and mortar, you don't quite need that.
You don't quite need the brick and mortar anymore. And it really comes down to those authentic relationships that are crafted through, as you said, the one-to-one at Chamber, and being out there doing the volunteer work. So I think we're bringing this all the way around full circle today in the way that if your confidence needs a boost, I'm going to say we'd recommend that you get off the couch.
Yes.
And just fake it till you make it and try it. Whatever you've been hanging out in the trunk of your car that you've said, I'm going to do. Maybe you put one actionable item down in your journal or your planner that says, I am going to pick up the phone. I'm going to write my resume. I'm going to make a decision about XYZ. And the next thing is get connected with family and friends or an
Yes.
organization like the Chamber.
Yes, exactly right.
And give me the third one, Bev.
Well, I would say that there's just no such thing as defeat. I think that, again, we're faced with challenge. Don't look at it that way. That reflect, pull yourself up, and go forward. Just don't look at it as defeat.
So, in the spirit of confidence, as we're kind of coming to a close, tell me what's next on the list of goals and intentions for Beverly, not the Chamber, Beverly, and then the Chamber.
So I still have things that I would like to do personally. I actually would love to write a book. I would love to write a play. So I need to build that into my life because it's been 10 years since I've been saying that.
Okay,
And
Beverly
it's
needs to
an
get that goal up and out in her
Yes,
daily drive.
and I absolutely need to do that without question. And getting that balance to be able to do it. So those are some of my goals. Spending more time with friends and family and doing that, and still providing within the workplace what I need to do at the Chamber.
It's a busy, important life, and what I think is the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves is to find something you love. Now, the old adage is do what you love and the money will come. Well, along the way, you might be doing things you don't love as you're finding your gifts and where you really fit in. And it might not always be money related, right?
Exactly.
And Randy Weiss a few weeks ago talked about success isn't really driven by what's on your W-2.
That's
and Ro Shalala Festivities talked about Pass on the Love and how she actually helped other people by repurposing things that were in her catering business to people that were less fortunate.
Right.
And so I think that we live in a wonderful, marvelous community of great people that are very forward thinkers, and we are out of the expected norm, regardless of our age. And we're
Absolutely.
working in this multi-generational, and I think the world is becoming a place, that is more open to communication. So before we close, if there's anything else you want to tell us about yourself or any tips on confidence, I would love to hear them, and so would our listeners. And please give the website to the Fairfield Chamber.
Yes, I will do that. My tip is really be forward thinking. Remember your talents and remember your skills. Try to be relevant in today's world. The world is moving at lightning speed. So be aware of what is going on, and you may discover something new that you may love. And so really keep your eyes open. Look for that fit. Try not to be at all hard on yourself. And again, looking at your talents and be collaborative as you go forward.
So I echo every single thing that Beverly says. And Beverly, you've been a perfect guest for The Drive, motivational, intelligent talk with a little humor. I think we've had a lot of all of that. Friends, please join me back here next Friday, The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli, my friends at Hersam Acorn Newspapers, handradio.com, and the Fairfield Chamber is fairfieldchamber.org.
FairfieldCTChamber.com.
Okay, well, see, I had that wrong. Thanks again. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
The biggest day in Connecticut lacrosse is around the corner, and you won't want to miss it. HAN Network's production team will be bringing you all 3 Connecticut Lacrosse Championship games and live streaming video through the CIAC and NFHS Network on Saturday, June 13th. This is Rob Adams. I'll have the play-by-play live from Brian McMahon High School. The 2015 Connecticut Lacrosse Championships through the CIAC and NFHS Network, and produced by the HAN Network. Don't miss it.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.